Well, I still have a deep-seated fear of failure. There's nothing like, yeah, death and the collapse of a brand, to create a real, very, this is what loss feels like terms, fucking hurts. Like, and this is where it comes back to that ambitions versus ambitiousness. Is, do I have the ambition to create this? No. Do I have the ambitiousness to try? Yes. As a sort of TEDx organizer and curator, putting that hat on for a moment, I have a sort of love-hate relationship with TED and TEDx because of this. Because if I do a TEDx talk, then I'm successful now. And I love working with people that understand that a change is needed in order to create some great benefit or impact. And those are the people that I love getting my hands on and going, right, we're going to write a really fucking great talk that's going to change how people think about this thing. And this is always a very unpopular opinion, or a very unpopular thing for people to hear, I suppose. But the people that I'm least interested in working with.
I'm on a mission to help the world to see success differently. Through sharing the stories of our guests, I hope to inspire those that listen. This is the Different Hats podcast, produced by H2 Productions. I hope you can join us on this journey.
And I thought I was passionate about my product. And I suppose what really, when I scratch, or not even scratch, but like fucking dig under the surface of why I was doing what I was doing, it's because I'd been working in a marketing role for 3 or 4 years, and and I was sold this wonderfully creative world of work that turned out to just be spreadsheets and reports, and predictable predictable results was the metric of success, And I wanted to be and do creative things, and I wanted other people to be able to experience creative things. And it frustrated me that the desire for uncreative things was getting in the way of creative people enjoying themselves at work. And I just couldn't believe that 75% of the marketers that I worked with spent most of their time looking at spreadsheets. It blew my mind. And
stifling that creativity that you...
Yeah, and attracting uncreative people to an industry that desperately needs creativity in order to succeed. And I suppose that's what I'm now getting back in touch with sort of now and in the last couple of years. It's like, okay, well, how do I redesign my work now? Not around sort of being flipping Mark Zuckerberg, and building, sort of tech empires, but just genuinely finding lots of different, this is where the different hats thing comes in. It's just like, how many different opportunities are there to help people experience creativity in their work, and including, and especially me. And then when you look at that as a whole, and you go, okay, well, it's not just about people at work anymore. It's about, this is the journey. This is where the parenting bubble starts to come in. It's just like, okay, well, now it's about kids as well, and young people. And, I work with a couple of charities that specialize in working with young people and youth. And that's the impact that I want to have there as well. I want to make sure that people have the opportunities to feel, for them to feel like they can value their own creativity and ideas, for other people to value their creativity and ideas, and then to create the pathways for them to pursue those as opportunities, so that they don't have to spend 10 years working in IT in order to figure out that they actually just want to be an artist, And
it's again that overriding message is about back to trying to create this narrative in society that, especially within that creative freedom element, about following those dreams. It's back to that thing, isn't it? Back to being kids and following those dreams and having the... And I think that's by listening to you talk, it's about getting to a point in our lives where we understand that and be able to go, it's okay to just do that. And okay, that's not really worked, so that's fine. I'm going to do this now, and that's okay. That's really good. I really love doing it, because actually, do we fear that part of society, again, back to that narrative of trying to... There's a fear factor of trying to go down this route, because actually I'm not sure what that looks like.
Well, I still have a deep-seated fear of failure, and that goes against kind of like the narratives and philosophies that I sort of like shout at myself in the mirror. but I still have a great fear of failure, and I don't try things because I'm scared that they won't work out.
And yet you're the lots of things that you do and the stuff you talk about, and the book especially as well, about that creative freedom, allowing you to do them things that you love. You do still, you are still following that path to a degree, aren't you?
Yeah, and I'm probably, even though saying what I've just said, like I'm probably still an outlier in terms of like the number of things that I try compared to most, but I'm not afraid of starting things. I think that's one thing. Like I'll always start, but then as soon as it comes to that kind of like, okay, now you have to try and make this work. Now you have to sort of like commit to like putting this in front of people and grow in it. Like I think that's where I get stuck. And that's partly a skills-based thing, but also, but if I was brave enough, I would just learn the skill or hire the skill,
What is that fear of... Where do you think that comes from, that fear of failure? Is it the fact that, like, look at it, I guess the business that you set out to be a big tech giant that didn't potentially work out, is that stem from that, or before then, or?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've got a I think just to turn you into my therapist for 90 seconds, like a lot of my fear comes from like that sense of loss, and that comes from it comes from losing a parent, it comes from losing friends, and it comes from losing businesses, and like there's nothing like death and the collapse of a brand, to create a real very what loss feels like terms, fucking hurts. So then not doing things that could potentially lead to it not working protects me from loss. And I guess that's the battle right now, is to be like, oh, okay, it's okay. Like, but then, the other side of the coin is like, I'm a big fan of kind of like knowing what starting something feels like, and you've got to see some material version of it in order to know whether you want to run at it or not. And what's a good example? So earlier this year I started like an AI magazine, and it was like everything in the magazine was written and illustrated by AI, but not through the purposes of trying to trick people into thinking that this is real people. It's like, no, these are robots trying to form a relationship with you, and like one of the first things was to create this kind of like AI editorial identity, that sort of like said, I am a robot, and these are my feelings, and these are my intentions, and this is what I strive to do in terms of connecting with humans, and then this is the content and the media that I want to create in order to do it, and then creating these magazines. And I did a couple of issues of the magazines, and ended up like going to speak at a couple of AI events because of it, and all of that sort of thing. And for a moment in time, I was this sort of like AI expert, and then gone because I didn't want to be that anymore. And I was like, cool, yeah, I experienced being an AI expert for 3 months, and like, and I was like, yeah, but then I'm very happy with what happened there. Like I got to experience doing that work, and what do I want to experience more of in my work at that time? I want to see what I can do with robots, and I want to see what that can do to achieve bridging the gap between humanity and AI. Do I want that to be my job? No. Do I want to be able to feel like I've experienced that? Yes. So how do I then judge that? Do I judge that as a failure because I didn't get past issue 3, or do I see it as a success because I got to experience what I wanted? And like, I could sit at my computer between like this podcast recording and my daughter finishing school and knock out another issue because it's so easy, because robots make it easy. So it's not the act of the work that's hard. And it comes down to direction of travel, I think. Like, and this is where it comes back to that ambitions versus ambitiousness. Is, do I have the ambition to create this? No. Do I have the ambitiousness to try? Yes.
Love that. Because actually, again, it's so much of that is back to our own measurement of success. Right?
Yeah.
That is the key. And that's what so much of the podcast is about the metric in which we measure success. And so many people you would sit opposite, maybe, or you talk to about different business ventures and different things that you've done, and so many, because society is really stuck on this financial status is where success lies of a business or anything, that if that's the metric in which we measure it in, then maybe that's not been successful because it's not done X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, one of the things that I, as a sort of TEDx organizer and curator, putting that hat on for a moment, I have a sort of love-hate relationship with TED and TEDx because of this, because in the same way that money does, or that job titles do, and so on, I think I have this sort of like poison chalice in one hand and this sort of, beautiful glass of champagne in the other, which is, the sort of the success that comes along with giving a TEDx talk, and I really, what am I trying to share here? The people that I think that I get to work with that go and do these great talks are the people that are least interested in getting up on stage and talking about the work. So I see my job in that role as like, I have to go and be a salesperson. I have to go and sell the idea of coming up on stage and talking about this thing. And I have to convince them that it's a good opportunity for them and the audience. I have to convince them that like they have, the skills and capabilities as a public speaker to do it. I have to convince them that the stories and experiences that they're bringing to the stage are valuable to other people beyond just their ecosystem. The people, and this is always a very unpopular opinion, or a very unpopular thing for people to hear, I suppose. But the people that I'm least interested in working with are the people that want to do it the most.
Because they want it for the status.
Yeah, because they're being driven by an ambition, and they're not doing it for the audience, or they're not doing it for the community. They're doing it for them. They want to serve this idea inside them, which is that, if I do a TEDx talk, then I'm successful now. And
because it's that external validation.
Yeah, it's like it's getting
out on my website. I've done a TEDx talk. Obviously, people will then look at that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have friends and colleagues that do this, but they give a TEDx talk and they change their job title to TEDx speaker, and it's just like, it's a bit like saying I went skydiving once and now I'm a skydiver.
I've done skydiving once. I'm not a skydiver. I probably won't do it again. Great experience.
So it's kind of and so I and again, it's for me, it's just the ultimate analogy of kind of like healthy success versus unhealthy success in terms of measure and metrics and so on, and it just shows up in my work quite plainly in that sense, I guess. And I love working with people that understand that a change is needed in order to create some great benefit or impact, and that there is a risk. And that risk is very normal. Like this risk in front of us is the norm. Like, we're heading towards this place. And if we can change how we behave and what we believe, we can move away from that risk and towards some form of prosperity or benefit. And those are the people that I love getting my hands on and going, right, we're going to write a really fucking great talk that's going to change how people think about this thing, and let's write the defining talk on this topic or on this question or on this idea. And that gives me the opportunity to exercise my skills as well and my awareness of that space and so on, and use them as kind of like clay, there's this beautifully crafted clay, in this wonderful colour, and we get to create something magical and unique with it. And it's a collaborative exercise. And the least, and then the people I don't want to work with are the people that already know. Yep, I know what the idea is. I know what this is. I know what people need to hear. And it's like, well, I can't. This isn't going to be a collaboration. I'm just a conduit.
Just giving you a platform to go and do what you think people want to hear.
Yeah, and it might be fun and exciting in the moment, but I promise you it'll be totally forgettable.